Well, welcome. It's the silly season, the season where you can't understand that people don't want to participate in local government. I mean, everybody complains about what it costs to pay taxes, that spending should be adjusted, that programs should be changed. And then we're going into a year where, the second year in a row, that we have one contested race. So we appreciate
Thank you.
people like you who not only have ideas, but are willing to pitch in and make them happen.
Absolutely.
Why don't we start with an introduction?
Yeah, I'm Brendon Rickert. I'm running for school committee, for re-election for school committee, which is a great honor to have. The last nearly 3 years of service have been quite enlightening. I've learned a lot. I've gotten to see how things function at a really granular level. And I'm excited to have the opportunity to do it again.
Was it what you thought it would be?
Yes and no. I kind of am a firm believer of good government is a little bit boring. And I don't say that as a full joke. I say that as it's tedious work. There are a lot of meetings. There's a lot of documents to read. They're very important. And at the end of the day, you really have to be dedicated to just learning and listening and understanding the process. So I think that part has been certainly enlightening. Some other parts have been also new to learn. I mean, I think when you think about being elected, about doing things, but I think in this role, it's actually a lot about guidance and kind of just steering the ship in a logical manner.
Well, I was amazed. This was decades ago when I was first on the school subcommittee for the finance committee, and we had a budget review night. And the superintendent came out with a 3-binder, and he said, "That's the budget."
Yeah.
And I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" And it had everything in it, including how many rolls of toilet paper Woodland needed to operate.
Exactly, how many paper clips there are. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a testament even to our administration now that they really care about how every single penny is being spent. They understand that it's the taxpayer dollars, and they're very important, and there's only a finite amount of them. So I know myself, others on the board, we all really take that responsibility seriously.
Well, it's something that this year, we'll get into the budget.
Yeah.
But this year is going to be a unique year if the governor gets her way.
Yeah.
But let's start off. Brendon, I'm from Milford. Why should I vote for you?
Yeah, Al, I think even if you remove the last 3 years of experience, why you should vote for me, I think comes down to my passion for public service. I really do appreciate the opportunities that this role provides, not only for myself, but really more for the system as a whole. So I firmly believe that public education is the cornerstone to all the great things that we love about this country, about this town, about this state. And I think being part of it is a really important process. And I know I have the ability and the will and the mindset and the excitement to be part of it.
Well, I tip my hat to you because too many people complain. But then when you say, "You willing to help?" Well, I'm busy.
Yeah, and I don't blame them saying that they're busy. This season, especially this year, is especially busy for us. Right now, it's budget season, as you mentioned. We have several contract negotiations that are ongoing, and there's just the regular meetings that pile up too, and all of that. I mean, it's been quite a bit of a time commitment on my end and my family's end. My family is super supportive of this venture for myself. And you have to really put your, some of your personal time away and serve the public. But I love doing it, and I think it's a very rewarding experience.
You're allowed personal time with a 3-year-old?
Not really, no. With a 3-year-old, it's a lot of fun. She keeps you on your toes, keeps you young, keeps you busy, and certainly. You take advantage of those early bedtimes as much as you can, because as soon as she wakes up, it's all hands on deck.
Well, we had diametrically opposite daughters. One would not go to bed unless you tied her down, and the other one, we were amazed. My youngest, Emily, would go to bed on her own early.
Amazing.
And then we went up and looked, and she had a flashlight and a math notebook hidden, and she would put the blanket
Oh, I
over her
love
head
that.
and do math problems.
I love that. No, not quite at math problems yet, but we still do our nightly book readings. And actually, the other day I saw her doing something similar. She had a flashlight and was reading a book in her room all by herself. So it's a lot of fun watching her grow. And it really just kind of puts into perspective how important this job is, because obviously I want what's best for my daughter, but so does everyone in this community want what's best for their child as well. And that's why in this role, being a public official for the schools is incredibly important. So for me, I think this is a lot of fun, and I really do enjoy it.
Well, everybody always thinks the select board is the critical group. And I sit there and say they're important, but the school committee, the 7 people on the school committee, by high school, I was lucky to see my daughter an hour a night.
Yeah.
She had a car, she's going,
Sure.
You guys dictate 8 hours a day of her life.
Yeah.
So to me, the school committee is the number one question.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of responsibility. I mean, from the time that they enter the school to the time that they leave, we're responsible for not only their education, but their safety, their well-being, how we can support them at home. There's been a lot of great initiatives over the last few years, some from the state level, some from the local level, to support kids not only in school but out of school too, by providing free breakfast and lunch is a great initiative. That's from the state, but also things that we do too, partnering with local vendors and community organizers who are providing backpacks at the beginning of school and meals for home and gifts for Christmas time and the holiday season. So everything in between, the schools have become a one-stop shop kind of for everything at this point.
Well, I was amazed when I found out that I think it was 60% of the high school kids qualified for free lunch.
Yeah, and that was the previous.
Well, whether
model.
it's funded or not,
Yeah,
or how it's
exactly.
funded is a different question.
Correct.
But I think the formula is you have to have income of less than $34,000 for 4 people.
Which is not a lot to begin. 35,000 is not a lot for 4 people either. But yeah, we still continue to have that same issue. Milford has a lot of high needs learners, and that's not just from an educational perspective. Like you mentioned, it is a financial consideration as well. So, we have a lot of challenges in the district, but we have an amazing amount of people, teachers, administrators, support staff, who are dedicated to providing a really quality education for our students.
What do you I think I know the answer, but what do you think will be the biggest challenge this next year or two?
I think one of the biggest challenges that we are facing on a year-to-year basis at this point, in addition to kind of your normal challenges, is the transportation budget. We're really struggling to get our arms around it. The costs are just increasing consistently. We have to bus a lot of our students, and I say bus, that could be in cars and vans, things of that nature, out of district for different services that they require. And that costs a lot of money on a day-to-day basis.
But the president just announced that gas prices are coming down. Doesn't that help?
Maybe it does in the long term, but those contracts that we have to sign with these vendors, they're kind of set. So if the price of gas goes up, they don't ask us for more money either, which is, I guess, a win. But right now, the prices of gas is the least of our issues.
Well, the transportation, rumor has it that it may go up double digit.
It's possible. We are negotiating right now, so I really can't speak at a high level for that. But it may go up quite a bit, and we need to really consider what that means for the full impact of the budget. That might, impact other things that we weren't expecting to impact. So, as always, we are constantly keeping our head on a swivel and trying to balance all of the challenges that come our way. So it's getting more difficult.
So is it just the cost of transportation, or is it transportation's being expanded?
Less about the expansion. So we still have a pretty I would like to say robust or liberal walking distance for our schools. I mean, the high school students can walk up to 2 miles to school, and we are not expanding that service as of now. We're looking at what that would cost. It may not make the final budget, but at least exploring that. It's really the cost. So after the pandemic, what we have seen in general is a lot of people left the workforce that maybe would have stayed on a little bit longer. Typically with buses, with bus drivers, we get a wide variety of people. Some of them are already retired or semi-retired, and they're just making a little extra money. Same thing with crossing guards. We struggle to find crossing guards on a consistent basis. So there's a lot of people that normally would have been in our workforce pool that are no longer there. So by having less people, we have to pay people more to work those positions now. So, and not that they don't deserve it. I think bus drivers and crossing guards, they're super important and impactful to our student safety. But those costs are rising. The cost of insurance is rising. The cost of maintenance for the buses, everything's going up. I will say certainly from the peak of inflation, it's starting to come down, but still year over year it's going up.
But still, some of the positions like the special needs aides
Yeah,
at $100 a day.
yeah.
I mean, you could go to a place where you say, do you want fries with that order? And make more money and have I won't say no responsibility.
Very minimal responsibility.
Minimal responsibility compared to somebody who's taking care of a kid all day.
I couldn't agree more. And, we've done a great job of working with the TA and BA unions on getting them bumps up in their pay. But to your point, if you look at our substitute teacher pay, it's about $110 a day. That's really not a lot for 8 hours of work. And, we're looking at how we can expand or how we can fund that differently so that way we can better serve our students.
Yeah, again, you see signs in the Dunkin' Donuts and all, starting at $13, $14 an hour.
Oh, yeah, more than that. I mean, I think Target starts at 20. So we're competing with quite a bit of competitive landscape.
So the governor came out with what I consider a laughable suggestion.
I think it's a slap in the face, but I'll go with yours.
Well, it's when she said she wants to increase Chapter 70, which is the state contribution to our education,
Yep.
by 0.6%.
Which is the minimum amount.
But, think about it. Your labor is what, 80% of your budget?
Yeah.
And that's locked in at 2-3%?
Yeah.
So right away, you're talking about a major cut.
Potentially. Yeah.
Well, the money's going to come from somewhere.
You're absolutely right.
It's a scary movie. Back in 2003, we were into this where we just had to go to the school committee and say, I believe you have the best programs in the world. You have the best teachers in the world. You have the best programs for teachers. You have everything. But we have $100. Here's $65.
Yeah. Make it work.
And you're not going to debate the programs.
No.
And that's what scares me is the last few years with the state going up $6-7 million a year in aid,
Yeah.
we were debating initiatives, new programs.
Yeah. And those all go away when you don't have a substantial increase.
If the legislature triples the governor's suggestion,
It's still not going to be as impactful.
1.8%, 2%,
No.
that doesn't even cover
The cost of labor.
the labor increases.
No.
So what do you do?
Yeah, so we've already started having some of these conversations, and they are not fun meetings. They're very sobering. You really have to consider all the stakeholders. And like you said, everyone has an impactful story, right? Everyone has an initiative that they're working on. Everyone has a reason for that money in the first place. So you really have to figure out what you can control, what's necessary, what we have to do by law is always going to be our first thought. And then how do you fill in where you can, maybe pause a year of implementing a new initiative But there's a lot of different scenarios, and as the committee, we have to learn from the administration what their priorities are and how we can support them within the budget.
Well, we've been lucky that Milford School and Milford Municipality have always worked well together. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, while everybody else was having wars over their finances, I remember we were debating, we told the school committee the highest we can go up is 6% that year.
Yeah.
The school committee said they need 6.5.
Yeah.
That's the lowest they can go.
Yeah.
I felt kind of good that we're arguing over 0.5%.
It's pretty good.
It's still a lot of money, but
Yeah.
compared to other towns and all.
Who are much further apart. Yeah, I mean, and that happened to us last year. We had a pretty good idea of what we wanted to do initiative-wise. The state came back a little bit less than what we were hoping for. We had just a real honest conversation with the finance committee, and we were able to find an equitable way to put some new initiatives in, but also keep the year-over-year increase, not as high. And one of the ways that we've done it recently, which I think has been a great way to show fiscal responsibility as well as the town meeting that we're really thinking about every single penny, is we're taking some of those one-time costs, such as curriculum development, out and putting it in as own line item at a town meeting. And I think that is really impactful, because what has happened previously is that if you've put in $250,000 for curriculum one year, it's a one-time cost, but then next year that just stays in. Well, then where does that money go, right? So this is just a way to keep that year-over-year percentage a little bit more even this time.
Yeah, but that's optics.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, at the end of the day, if we agree that you're going to get X% increase, and you go to town meeting for an article,
Yep.
you're just fluffing up the X%.
Yeah, but we're pulling it out. I think we're doing it in a way that says this is a one-time fee. The year-over-year cost for consumables, for example, those will be built into the budget going forward. But I think it's more accountability, to be perfectly honest. I know it looks a little bit like a smoke and mirror thing, but I firmly believe that this is the right way to do it.
It's still money we're spending.
Well, that's definitely true.
I mean, this year scares me because we got programs like Stacy,
Mm-hmm.
where it was, $7 million to redo the HIVAC system,
Yeah, that's going to be a several-year process.
and we already paid the first part,
And
or
so yeah,
budgeted.
so you have to keep on.
So now all of a sudden you turn around and say there's, I think, $1.5 million in year 2.
Yep.
Well, we only have 1.7 million in total
Yep.
capital for the town.
Yeah. So, who else doesn't get funded? How do we do it? One of the things I will say, we have Tim Kiernan, who's been taking over the grants part of the administration, and we've been very successful with grants. So I know he's always looking for every penny he can. The Stacy project, what we did a couple of years ago when we replaced the boilers, basically, we replaced the engine in a Ferrari and forgot to put everything else around it. We didn't put any wheels on it, we didn't put any windows on it, and nothing else. So the boilers work great, but if there's no way for that heat to get distributed, then it's really not really doing its job effectively. So I credit to everyone involved in the building subcommittee to get this initiative fully funded and thought out, because it's not an easy process redoing a whole HVAC system of a really old building.
It was a surprise, to say the least.
Well, that's
where
true.
It's kind of the end of the year, and here's a $7 million surprise.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we're only going to ask for $3 million or 2.5 the first year. Yeah, but we kept saying next year may not be any better.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it doesn't look like it's going to be.
No, but it's important. One of the complaints that we saw was basically literally from room to room, and I experienced it. You could go in one room and it would be ice cold, the very next room would be boiling hot.
Uh-huh.
So it's a problem, and I think it's really something that we're looking into in general with the high school project, because we've noticed that there have been issues with these major components of the schools and the buildings that really weren't maintained well or thought out well, and now we're kind of reacting instead
Well,
of
when
being
the high school
proactive.
boiler went down,
Yeah.
I remember saying, okay, you can't go to Home Depot
No.
or ye old boiler shop
No, no,
and
no.
get parts for 50-year-old boiler.
Yeah, that was a challenge, and again, credit to the administration for troubleshooting. They really kind of turned over every stone for those coils that were there. But we did it. But it's a Band-Aid, to be perfectly honest. And I know we're hopefully getting a new high school soon, so we should
Well, the
keep putting Band-Aids on
goal on the table is September 30,
for
opening up the new high school
September of 2030. Got
of
it.
2030.
Understood.
It seems like a long ways in the future,
Yeah,
but
it comes quick.
we're 26 already, and we
Yeah.
haven't even approved a plan.
No. Yep. It's going to be something. I'm excited to see that process play out. I think we're working with the right people, the right community partners, both in Milford and as well as the people that we've hired for the project so far. But it's going to be a lot.
Fundamental question, do we need a new high school?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah. Well, from my understanding of what we need, there's two components to it. One, the building itself, whether we do a renovation, a partial tear down and add new buildings, or a full tear down, the building itself needs a lot of work. It was designed for different teaching styles 60 years ago than what we do today. The other part too is what we recognize what our students do after school. So if you think about what the purpose of education is, it's, well, how do you enter the workforce in whatever way you do, whether it's immediately into the workforce with trades or going to a college or a community college and then going into the workforce with a different type of labor. Most of our kids go directly into the workforce. They don't go on to college. So the programs that we'd be able to add with this new building would include several different trades that are not competing with BVT. That would be impactful for our students to have hands-on job training experience right away, right into the workforce. They'd be able to contribute as soon as they graduate.
When you say not competing, if we add carpentry, plumbing, electrical, add those electrical programs.
Yeah.
If you add electric maintenance or electrician training, do you have that at BVT already?
So there are some things that we have to consider in terms of competing with BVT. We can add more programs, but in terms of what we get back from the state, that's what we have to consider. Now, I will say this: if you've ever called for an electrician or a plumber, they're going to be busy at least a few weeks out. So we need far more of them, and it would be beneficial if we could have those programs as well.
Well, we've had the discussion over the decades about what is the role. Because when I was a kid in Milford High, well, in 8th grade, you were making a decision. If you're going to college, you go to Milford High.
Yep.
If you want to be a tradesman,
Go to BVT.
go to BVT.
No.
But it's changed because Fitzy did a wonderful job increasing the academic performance of the kids.
Absolutely.
But all of a sudden, you had to be in the top 10, 15% of the academicians
Yep. And that is changing next year.
because of the lottery.
Yeah, so we're implementing a new lottery that should be more fair. So students have 4 chances to enter in the lottery. The first chance is simply by filling out a form and saying you want to be considered. The second is actually just physically visiting BVT, which we will pay for the transportation. I think we're still working out if it's BVT pays for it, if we pay for it. Someone will be paying for the transportation for that. Then there's a couple other requirements that they could get 4 chances in that lottery process. So it should make it more equitable.
Well, the whole idea of having a trade program in Milford High makes sense to me.
Of course.
Because I've said many a time, my father came to Milford. If you put him in an organic chemistry class, he would not have done well. But give the man a tool,
Absolutely.
and he was an artist.
Yep.
And like you say, anybody who doubts the need for tradespeople doesn't own a house.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. Yeah, and I think it's great exposure. Either way, whether the example that we're thinking of and modeling off of is Attleboro High School, because they went through this whole process very recently with renovating their high school and adding trades. 90% of their students are in a trade program. 90%, which means they get additional state funding too, which is a great secondary effect. But almost everyone at that school is having some type of job training. It's not always just like a plumber or an electrician. There are other trades that come out of this program that students are getting hands-on experience for. And if nothing else, they learn a little bit more about something different in their daily lives. And I think that's wonderful.
Well, some of the programs you talk about, like biotech.
Yeah.
That is not a low-paying job.
No, it is not.
You know, because we had to recruit, and we were starting our technicians out in the 50s years ago.
Mhm.
That's not a bad pay to start.
That's not bad. Yeah. No, I mean, in the biotech industry, obviously Massachusetts is incredibly strong. I'm part of that community, and I know many others in this town are as well. It is a wonderful community to be part of. It's impactful. It's meaningful work. And we should provide that opportunity to our students. If you look at some of our biggest, a couple of our biggest employers in town, they're biotech. They are pharma companies. So, the workforce demands it.
And there's companies like Waters that aren't a biotech company per se.
No.
But more than half of their HPLCs and mass specs go to the life science industry.
That's correct. Yep. So I mean, they're equally part of the whole ecosystem.
How's the population doing in the schools? We hear it's going down.
It's gone down a little bit this year, but I'm going to say that with a big asterisk. So we recently, a couple of school committee meetings ago, got some initial data. So one of the initiatives over the last few years, the administration's really tried to be more proactive at registering kindergarten kids into our schools a little bit earlier. So
And kindergarten population's going way down, right?
No, I have some bad news for you. It is going way up. So our numbers are actually for this time of year. Typically, we get about half of what we'd expect by the enrollment by first day of school in August or September. We are actually exceeding that number now. The number of enrollment at the beginning of the school year. So. We will see if that number decreases, but historically that number only increases from this point of the year.
Say it typically goes up after the first tranche.
That's correct. So that potentially is going to impact our classroom size for kindergarten. And right now we have a very manageable classroom size for kindergarten. This could...
Well, how many kids per class average?
My understanding, I think the last number we have is about 18 or 19 per class.
Which is a nice number.
It's a pretty good number. It's still a lot. I mean, 18 5-year-olds is quite a bit to handle. But it's a good number. This could make it 24 if we don't add another teacher, which may be the reality just because of the budget that we have. So we are very concerned about how this is going to affect our not only kindergarten numbers next year, but then that's going to go to first grade.
But it's the
Second
wave.
grade. Yeah, exactly.
That bubble just travels.
It does, yeah. And it usually doesn't always, the bubble behind it doesn't always decrease either.
How do you explain to people, we're going down, 200 kids so far this year?
Yeah.
Why can't you cut staff?
Well, it's a simple number game of 200 divided by 13, because there's 13 grades. Once you do that, it's maybe 1 or 2 kids a grade, and that actually is, if you look at the level by level grade, it is not a big difference between 3rd and 4th grade and 4th and 5th grade of who's not enrolled. So we're talking about 1 or 2 kids a class, and that's really not going to impact staffing in.
So if you're going from 20 to 18,
you
got 1 teacher in there now.
Correct.
You can't really eliminate a teacher.
No. So I mean, in a perfect world that would work a lot nicer, but it's not. It's an even distribution, so it really doesn't affect any of our staffing levels.
The question always comes up is how do Milford kids, their education compared to neighboring towns?
I think it's equal or better, to be perfectly honest. I think about education from a holistic perspective, not just what you learn in the classroom, but the people that you interact with. I think you can get a full life experience through the Milford Public Schools. We have great programs. We have, a very robust AP set of courses, and we're also elevating that middle of the pack student learner that sometimes gets neglected when you think about from a budget perspective of, kids who have higher needs, kids who, exceed. We're also looking at that equity piece. And the two curriculums that we've implemented recently, the math curriculum and the reading curriculum, are addressing all spans of our students. And actually, with the math curriculum, now that it's in its third year, we can see some meaningful numbers.
I was going to say, the reading curriculum may be too early to...
Yeah, it's a little too early to tell for that. But the math, we're seeing improvements in math scores.
Oh.
And it's wonderful to see. So I'm excited to see it. And it's a combination of not only what the curriculum is, but how the teachers are teaching it. And that's driven by the administrators to implement a plan. And it's really paying dividends to the students.
Now, they did away with MCAS.
For graduation requirement. Yeah.
Okay. But realistically, aren't they still looking at an MCAS-like system?
This is ongoing, and it's causing a few more gray hairs, unfortunately, for me. So the state, rightfully so, wants to make sure that we are properly evaluating our students to graduate. So MCAS previously were a requirement to pass in order to graduate. That ended by a vote, by a popular vote of the citizens of the state. What we are now experiencing from DESE is, well, how do we actually know these students are learning something? Which is a fair question to ask. So we have to develop some new competency requirements that evaluate students' knowledge of the course that they took. So that actually means we're looking at test scores from midterms and final exams.
But wasn't that MCAS?
It kind of was, but now it's just not standardized. Now it's just local to the district. And that also might change too.
So each town will set a different standard?
Slightly different. Yeah, I mean, so DESE is pretty involved in our curriculum anyways. So why we went to the new math and reading curriculum, one, the other ones weren't working, they weren't cohesive. The other part of it was they weren't meeting the level from DESE of this high impact quality curriculum. And part of what DESE does is making sure that students learn what they need to learn. So the curriculum is indicative of it, and also now this competency requirement that is coming down the pipeline and is going to evolve several more times before we actually see some consistency from year to year.
Well, asking the question to the 7 of you on the school committee, I get a jaundiced answer. But the ultimate judges to me are the universities.
Yeah.
You know, if we're not giving a good education to our kids, they're going to Podunk Community College.
That's true.
How do our kids do about getting into colleges?
They do a fantastic job. I mean, I know last year we had a couple kids get into the Ivies and are attending there. Other kids went to your typical prominent universities for impactful degrees. So, I think our valedictorian went to Duke. We have another one who went to Cornell. The short answer is the universities like what we're doing. And that's part of, driven by our administration of being part of, I forget the acronym, but an accrediting organization that makes sure that we have the right classes and infrastructure in place to make sure that the students have the proper education they need to get into college.
Well, to me, I'm paying my taxes, which 60-odd% go to the school,
Mm-hmm.
and I expect that the teachers are preparing my kids to go and stay in college.
I would say that my expectation as a taxpayer is that the teachers are teaching the students what they need to be successful with whatever they do after.
Obviously, the ones who are tradespeople are
Sure.
different requirements.
Yeah.
But the kids who want to go to college,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's.
seems like the kids are pretty prepared to go and
I think
stay.
they're well prepared. Absolutely. And one of the things, too, if you ask our athletic director, Pete Boucher, what we're seeing more of, we're actually seeing an increase of our student athletes. We have a higher percentage of our student athletes who are participating in sports in college than most districts around the state. So it's not only just the education piece of it, but also the athletics part of it too.
Well, when Pete came on the show, I mean, first of all, he impressed me when he corrected me the first time and said, we have student athletes.
Yep.
And it really hit me hard to say the guy's got a perspective. 99% of the kids are not going to make a living in sports.
No.
So let's make sure that they're making their living in their academic performance.
Absolutely. I think it provides a lot of balance and guidance. What we're seeing at the youth sports level is unfortunately exclusion by their parents' ability to pay for it. We've spoken to Dr. Consigli about how we can maybe expand upon some middle school programs, because the turnout for the middle school sports is actually incredibly high.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So we need to foster that relationship. I mean, the students find it to be important to them. We should find a way to make it sustainable.
Well, when you've got somebody like Pete with his head in the right mode, that he's teaching them values, he's teaching them life skills.
Sure.
And he's winning games, which is always nice.
Which is always a nice little upside.
But
I think that goes in hand, right? If you're teaching those core principles about what it takes to be a good athlete, the games kind of come back with it too, right? I mean, you're just going to have that motivation, that consistency to do what you need to do on the off the field to be successful on the field.
The new high school.
Yeah.
What do you think it's going to do for us?
It's going to really change how we educate our students. So some of the proposals include adding the 8th grade class to the complex of the high school, which is going to be interesting, but also a way to really expand upon how the 8th graders learn and transition into high school. So I don't want to speak too into detail about that particular portion of it, but the new high school is going to really change how we do things, and I think it's going to inspire students to really elevate their own abilities and be successful.
Well, the school's been there for 50 years.
It's almost 60 now. I think the last time I talked to you, it was
54.
Yeah, we're creeping up.
I can always keep track because we were the first class out of there
Right.
in 74.
Yeah, so perfect.
So we've gotten our money out of the school.
Yes.
You start looking at expanding on the school.
Yeah.
And putting in the trades.
Yeah.
Academically, what else would we expand on?
Yeah, so I think it offers the ability for more flexibility when we're talking academics, in terms of how we would design a classroom. Certainly in the science classrooms would benefit greatly to having a more modern facility. We also would look at how we could add more AP courses and honors courses as well. That does take some extra training for our teachers too, which they're constantly doing. They're always improving upon their skills as well. But ultimately, the facility is going to allow for more flexibility and just a more modern learning environment.
Did I hear, well, I heard a rumor that we're putting in an immersion style program?
We did it, yeah. So this has been a few years in the making. We have an immersion program that's just started this year with kindergarten. So it's a Spanish-English immersion. So half the day is taught in English and half the day is taught in Spanish. And it is so far a fantastic success. And this is the problem with successful things. People hear about it, they want more of it. We're not going to come back to you with asking for more teachers for that yet, but it's definitely on my priority list over the next few years. But it was a lottery program where students could apply, and the first cohort is currently in kindergarten. So next year, it'll go to first grade, and there'll be another kindergarten cohort that comes in. And that's all the way through 5th grade. We have it mapped out to 5th grade. After that, that's where we have to kind of figure out what those next steps are and what that would look like.
It's amazing because when we took language in Milford school system. I got it thrown back in my face by a teacher who, number one, I was amazed that 35 years later she still remembered. But she cornered me when my daughter was at Middle School East and said, "Do you remember what you told me about your need for the French language?" I said, "Miss Longo, no." She goes, "You said, why am I studying French? I'll never use it." She says, "Where did you just move from?" I said, "Paris."
I think that is a consistent part of my life, coming out of school and then living in the real world. Sometimes you're like, oh yeah, that lesson that was in seventh grade is now coming back, and I'm remembering some of those salient details. So, I think it goes to show how prepared our teachers are.
Well, it shows dedication too, because the fact that she could remember a student 30-some years later.
Yeah, teachers are angels.
Amazed me.
Teachers are absolute angels. I think almost all of them could do the same thing. They remember almost every single student they had and what they were doing, and it's a special.
And the language
special
that you learned, at least for me, was less important than the skill
Correct.
of having multiple languages.
Absolutely.
Because I remember when we first moved to Paris, my darling bride spoke no French.
Yeah.
She spoke English, American English. And she was struggling with, okay, why is a pen feminine? Why is this
That's fair.
masculine?
That's fair.
And I couldn't explain to her. I knew what it was.
Right.
Because it was the same in Portuguese as it was in Spanish as it was in French.
Sure.
So I learned one, and I had three for.
Yeah.
Of course, when I started trying to learn Russian and Arabic, all bets were off. That was totally.
It's a little bit more challenging.
That was every other week going to Moscow helped, but still it was tough.
Sure.
But it was the discipline.
Yeah, I think that's one of the keys that I think about in my daily life, about just being a lifelong learner. I mean, even after senior year of high school, you say you graduate, never touching a textbook again, which might be true. You should always be thinking about learning and those skills to learn that you develop during the 13 years you're part of this district. So I think that's probably the biggest non-tangible thing that we teach on a day-to-day basis.
Well, again, when you think of the math skills you learned, I don't know that I'm going to use some of the abstract math skills.
No.
Even in chemistry, I didn't need them, but it was the process, the logic,
Yes.
how you approached problems.
Yes. And I will say with the new math curriculum, how they approach problems now are a lot different than how you and I learned it. And that's not a bad thing. It really is truly a well thought out foundational process. But, again, to your point, it's not about the outcome, it's about the process. And that is really where you exceed after you leave our school system.
Well, I've got a 5-year-old, my granddaughter, and the way she brings home problems and things, you sit there and say, my God, were we...
Did we learn the same thing?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that, to be perfectly honest. But I think that's the fun part about being a parent, too, and a grandparent, that, you still have to put that learning hat on and think a little bit, and hopefully you can help them out. But, yeah, that actually did come up at a recent school committee meeting of how are we supporting parents with this new math curriculum and this new process, because it is not anything like we learned.
How do you support the families who don't speak English at home?
So every transmission that we send out, or electronic transmission that we send out, and written, has both Spanish and Portuguese in addition to an English translation. So that's number one. At events, we do have translators. So at larger events, we do have translators. And then we also have specific sessions for non-English speakers for just a little bit more detailed events as well throughout the year. That's largely driven by our Family Resource Center. And even at that point, when you enter into our school system, we have interpreters right there, or people who are bilingual, who can help out with filling out the paperwork to register your kid for kindergarten or whatever they're entering into the school system with. So we do think about it a lot, and we do support it. I think there's always room for improvement, but we do try our best to support those families.
Well, I think that's important because I was always, it never hit me till afterwards, but my mother and father went to every event at the school.
Same.
My father had no clue. He was told, you should go there to support your son. Put on his coat, put on his little hat.
He was there.
He was there in the front of the auditorium.
Yeah.
Having no clue what was being said, but it meant a lot that I could look out and see him.
Yeah, same for me. I mean, my parents, even in college, they would come to track meets all over the place. I can count on one hand how many track meets they missed of mine. They really, truly went above and beyond. But I think it's important, and that's something that is a cultural thing. When I say cultural, I mean not just from where your family is from or where you were born, but really about the town of Milford. And I think in large part, our parents are great at supporting our students at every event, not just a football game, but at a concert, at a play, whatever it might be. And I think they do a really good job of it.
Well, it's always amazing at how much support town meeting and town members give the school.
Without a lot of pushback, to be perfectly honest. But I think the other part of that coin or that statement too is the amount of work that we spend as a committee, that the finance team and the finance committee spend, and also just the full-time employees at town hall spend on developing a budget and presenting what we present at town meeting. I think a town meeting member, even if they never looked at the packet, 5 minutes before the event, they could be very trustful that this is a well thought out document, and we really are trying our best to balance not only improvement but also not breaking the bank either.
Well, I remember, I don't know, it was 2-3 years ago when the budget got really tight. Well, I say really tight compared to this year.
Yeah.
Nothing, but
Sure.
before the big $6-7 million a year increases from the state came in,
Mm-hmm.
we were in our typical cycle where it's January, February, Finance Committee says we're destitute, we're broke, we have no money. The school committee says we need $9 billion to survive. We both beat our chests, and then we sit there and say, okay, we've gone through that mating ritual. Now, what's real?
Yeah, what actually needs to happen?
And we had, the whole argument was between, could we afford a 6.5% increase, which is what the school committee wanted, or a 6% increase, which is what the finance committee wanted. But you think about it, 0.5%?
Yep.
It's real money,
For sure.
but compared to other towns and other,
I mean, we've been very fortunate that the support that we've had from the town, the taxpayers, has been phenomenal. If you look at almost every district around us, throughout the state, they've had to lay off some amount of teachers or support staff in their schools over the last couple of years, because a lot of school districts used the federal money that came in from COVID, and they hired a lot of people, and they no longer could support those.
couldn't afford them.
Exactly. So we've been very fortunate to not have to have that conversation so far. But I think that speaks to a larger, where do we want to be? Obviously, the town of Milford, the state of Massachusetts, we do value education. We have in the state the highest rate of people who have a college degree, which is phenomenal. But as a country, what do we value? What do we value as U.S. Citizens and people who live here? I think we could do a better job. I mean, if you look at if you look at some of the spending that is currently happening with this administration, where is that money for education? We could do some of that right now. I'm not saying that money should be endless either, but we could absolutely rethink about our priorities and bring some of that in.
Well, a lot of it too is the debate on how much can we help the immigrants coming in
Sure.
versus our own kids.
Yeah, it's always been a balance, and I think it's just continues to get magnified, right? I mean, we unfortunately have to bear the brunt of what the federal government does or doesn't do in terms of immigration. We get saddled with those responsibilities. And I think that's probably the most frustrating part, because you and I and others in this town, we really care about every single kid who steps foot in the doors of our schools. But we do have to figure out how we can do this in a logical and
Well, I've had that
economical
argument
manner.
over and over saying, I have 4,200 kids.
Yes.
You know,
No.
at the end of the day, not one is more valuable than the other.
No.
You know, I mean, of course, there's a prejudice towards the two that are
A little bit.
biologically mine,
Understood. I think that's
but
fair.
realistically, you have to take care of all the kids.
We do, and that's by law, which I always, as best I can, follow the law. And more importantly, morally, it's the right thing to do.
But that's the key. I mean, I've gotten criticized more than once by saying, I don't care what the law says.
Yeah.
I have to meet the minimum.
Yeah.
I care what Milford wants.
I agree.
You know, because kid comes into Milford, bleeds Milford red. He's our kid.
Absolutely.
This whole thing of, well, deport him. Where, to Rhode Island? I didn't know we could deport people to Bellingham.
Yeah. No, it's a false choice, really. You know, like you said, I think we owe the future generations the best that we can give them. That is a thing that we can do and should do.
Yeah, in Milford, I mean, everybody growls, everybody snarls. It costs too much in taxes to live in Milford. Yes, it does. The average house is $6,800 a year.
Yeah.
But I've told people, I said, look around and tell me who you trade with.
I think we get a lot of bang for a buck here. I really do. You know, and I think that's a testament to a lot of people who've thought very thoroughly about how we do things. And, you know, we have a lot of amenities and services that we have to cover and we do a good job of.
Yeah, and like you said, the balance is the key.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people in Milford who are doing well.
Sure.
But you got to remember that there's a lot of people who are living on Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you start seeing these $2,500 a month checks that people get, and you say, how do you survive?
It's very sobering.
And these people are the people who built Milford. We're here because of
Sure.
the work that they carried on their back.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's the challenge with every budget cycle, right? It's always a balance. You know, I think especially now that we're going through several different negotiations, I think the theme of, you know, if everyone walks away a little bit, I don't want to say upset, but a little bit like we could have gotten a little bit more.
When nobody is totally satisfied, you've done a good job.
I think that's the theme of it, right? Yeah, which is
They're
kind
going
of
to be satisfied, but they're not totally.
exactly. There's a little bit more to be desired. So, you know, I think we find that balance as best we can.
So what do you think the biggest challenge is going to be in the next 3-year cycle?
Honestly, I am very concerned. I said at the beginning of the conversation, the transportation budget is really just something that concerns me. We've been fortunate that the circuit breaker funding has come back in our favor the last few years and balanced things out. But if that dries up, which it's kind of doing across the state because everyone has the same problem, we're going to have some different conversations. Transportation is really something that we need to address and find a way to manage it as best we can.
Yeah, but you've hit the low-lying fruit. Buying the buses, although I won't
Yeah,
condone how they were bought, but buying the 8 buses,
the vans. Yeah.
the vans,
Yeah.
seems to have saved us a lot of money.
It has, and we're looking at that too. Does it actually save us money? And we're looking at what it would cost to hire a private car service to do the same function. And in some cases, it actually might be less expensive, and in other cases, it probably isn't. Do we expand upon that fleet? Maybe. It's not even the cost of the van that's necessarily the problem. The liability that comes with it, and also just finding a driver. It is really
Well, paying the
difficult.
driver. Remember, we had a special needs kid
Yeah.
that had to go to the North Shore,
Mm-hmm.
and it was 2 hours plus to get there and 2 hours plus to get back.
Yep.
So it wasn't worth sending a bus or a van
No.
and back. The guy would just go there and sit for 5 hours.
Yeah, and you have to pay for that time, and rightfully so. I mean, that's someone's livelihood. I mean, it's time that they're there, but it's a very difficult decision and choice. But this is something that we are tasked with to solve, and it's actually a much larger problem, and we don't really have all the resources and pieces to put together to fully address the problem. It really should come from the state. And I don't have a perfect solution on that, but someone at the state level, the DESI level, really needs to start thinking about how we can do this.
It's so logical, but yet here it goes another year.
No one wants to tackle the problem because ultimately it's a lot of thinking and work. Maybe we can use some chat GPT to help us out.
Yeah, artificial intelligence. It would have to be artificial.
It might have to be. It might have to be. But that would actually take some of the bias out of it. So who knows? Maybe there is a benefit.
Yeah, but how do you take the bias out of dealing with your children?
You can't. You shouldn't.
You know, that's the key. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
There's got to be some emotion in there.
Of course.
You know, it's like when people say, just you're expanding your special needs programs just brings more kids to Milford.
It's a great thing. It's a great problem to have.
Well, that's my point was good.
Yeah.
I will not feel bad
No.
if helping Milford kids spins off by helping some kids from neighborhood towns,
I mean, a couple of years ago,
neighboring towns.
you know, Hopkinton actually had a fight to keep their special education funding somewhat level. Meanwhile, we're expanding it. So, you know, every town's different, every budget's different, but you know, I'm pretty proud of what we were able to deliver.
I'm from Milford. Why should I vote for you?
Yeah, I think, you know, the conversation we had tonight, Al, you can hopefully see my passion. I really enjoy getting deep into the weeds and thinking about all the stakeholders, all the issues that are at hand, and trying to solve them. You know, at the end of the day, I firmly believe that the education of our children is the most important thing we can do and hand to them and give to them, and we should do that. And we should do it in a way that every child comes away with a great, solid foundation for the rest of their life.
And a lot of people don't understand, even if you don't have a child in the Milford school system,
Oh, it affects you either way.
the value of your house.
Yeah. I mean, look at, you know, I think a great example that we do with the youth center, having a free after-school program that kids can go to that's safe, that's inclusive. I think that, you know, if you look at the ripple effects of that, there's less kids who have, you know, who are bored, who don't have things to do.
Well, it's like the youth center with Jen Ward.
Yeah.
There's certain kids who don't associate well with after-school programs in the schools.
Sure.
There's certain kids who don't like football, who like hockey.
Yep.
There's certain kids who don't like this program or that, and you put in programs.
Yep.
The youth center to me is just another program
Exactly.
for a different demographic of kids.
Absolutely. And free play is so valuable too. I mean, just to be perfectly honest. And there's so many different activities that they can do there. But again, it's keeping kids occupied and busy, and their parents know that they are in a safe place. They know where they are. It's great for everyone. So, you know, successful programs cost some money here and there, but they're successful for a reason.
Well, I thank you for everything you've done,
Likewise.
and I'll thank you in advance for everything you will do for our kids.
Thank you.
And as always, to our 6 loyal viewers, may God bless. May tomorrow be a better day than today. And please get involved. Not that I want you to have competition,
I don't
but
mind
the
it.
idea that we have 2 open slots on the school committee and only 2 people running
Yeah.
just is a sad situation.
Yeah, I mean, competition's a good thing. It makes you think about why you want to do something. It makes you think about how things are done. I welcome it, and I encourage people to do it.
And good night, all. And please, I've always said I'll never ask you to vote for a specific candidate, but I'll beg you to vote. There is a contested race this year. Please get out and vote. Good night, all.